Good morning. My name is Lisa Daisel. I'm from the Unisa Directorate for Counselling and Career Development. A very warm welcome this morning to those of you to this session, Why Am I Here? Career Exploration for First Year Students. With me, I've got my colleague, Mrs. Mandu Makanya. She will be introducing us to the topic as well as to our speakers. Thank you, Mandu.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Before I can introduce our two speakers for the day today, I thought it would be appropriate to give a background of information in terms of why this topic today. The topic of the day is Why Am I Here? A career exploration for junior students or for first year students. At this point in time of a junior student, it is very important to know what is crucial and important in their career development. So being at the university, the one thing that is in the mind of a student is that I'm here to pass my degree and focus on my academics. But it is very important to note that being a student at the university, it is not only about focusing on your academics and your academic development, but career development and personal development are very important to work on in your journey as you study as a student. So career exploration is about all the three. It is a crucial process for anyone who wants to have a successful and fulfilling career. So developing all these three aspects of being a student, your academic, your career, and personal development. So now where do we start? Career exploration is about self-knowledge. First of all, it is a way to gain a deeper understanding of yourself, your values, identifying your strengths and skills, and finding out what contribution you wish to make in this world. And second, career exploration is a process of, it's about understanding the job market. It is a process where you have to stay up to date with the current job market, the industry trends. What are the earnings, the potential earnings for my career field, and job outlook for specific industries and jobs? And third, what one needs to keep in mind about career exploration. It is about developing skills for the workplace. So that is knowing what skills and knowledge are in demand in your particular industry or your career field. And this helps you make informed decisions about your education and training. So it is about developing soft and hard skills and developing them whilst you are studying, because the employer would want to know what skills, what soft skills and hard skills do you have at a time when you're looking for employment. So soft skills are referring to skills that help you to manage your work in the workplace. But hard skills are skills that are industry specific or career specific to the type of job that you will be doing. So all of these can be developed while you are studying by doing a customer facing job, getting involved in different ways. Our speakers are going to explore on in terms of how did they do it. And third, it is about discovering hidden careers. So career exploration can help you discover new career paths that you may not have previously considered. For instance, people who goes to university and says, I want to study marketing. And if you ask them a question, what is in your mind when you talk about marketing? They talk about traditional ways of practicing marketing in the workplace. But once they get to the university, they discover that there are new trends in the marketing field. There are careers called, referred to as digital marketing, which they might not have known before coming to university. So what am I saying is that be inquisitive and conduct career researches in terms of hidden careers as you proceed with your studies. Also, what is important as a form of career exploration is networking. and as a form of job, of creative job searching as well. So what does this mean? Networking and connecting with potential professionals in various industries, whilst you are a student. And one way of doing it is by attending our virtual fairs that are coming this year. We are going to have 3 virtual fairs where you interact with future employers and asking them questions and industry related questions in the process. And finally, ladies and gentlemen, career exploration can also help you develop a long-term career plan and set achievable goals by understanding your options and having a clear vision for your future. You can also take steps towards achieving your career aspirations and increase your job satisfaction and overall career fulfillment. So, ladies and gentlemen, this topic is very crucial. It is very, very important that you keep in mind as you focus on your academics, but also focus on your career development and focus on your personal development, and with career exploration in key in your mind. Now, today we have 2 speakers that are going to help us understand specifically how they did this and how did they do it successfully to be where they are. And believe you me, in the process, there will be potholes, there will be hurdles to jump, and there will be challenges. I'm not promising you that this is an easy process. It requires a resilient person to engage in it. And better people to tell us about this are the people who have gone through this process and how they engaged in it, what challenges they faced, and how did they overcome them to be where they are. And they will also share lessons from their own experiences in terms of how do you overcome challenges and how can you avoid the mistakes that they have made in the past. First, ladies and gentlemen, to address us is Miss Nolitha Tiba. She is a relationships manager with the First National Bank's Philanthropy Center. She has an honors degree in international politics from Unisa and a bachelor's degree in international relations and politics with a minor in history from the University of Witwatersrand. Growing up in the diplomatic community set the tone and introduction to the general philanthropic space. This sparked an interest in understanding this space more, which led her to her first job with the Embassy of Japan, and then into the social justice space with the Legal Resources Center, later moving to the African Philanthropic Network, and then to the Philanthropy Center at First National Bank. Ladies and gentlemen, let us welcome to the podium Miss Nolitha Diba. Thank you, Lisa.
Thank you so much for the introduction. I'm definitely going to ride the compliment of saying that it's people who are skilled. Apologies, let me turn on my camera. So just to firstly thank everybody. Thank you for your time. Thank you for your attendance, but also thank you for having me. I really appreciate to share, I guess, the little expertise I have in the field and how I've gotten here and the path I've taken. So I also just want to put up my presentation, if you don't mind. So when I got this topic, firstly, I immediately thought, wow, this is such an existential question. And it's a question that really carries you throughout your life. So it's not really limited to why am I here at this moment? You're going to ask it throughout your whole life. But narrowing it down to this specific topic, I just put together a fast presentation just to firstly kind of go into who I am, the path I took to get where I am now. And then I'd also consulted a few people in the space. I reached out to lawyers, engineers, actuaries, accountants, just a range of people to get their learning as well, just because I understand we're all a diverse group of people and our paths are not the same. So my journey really could be so far-fetched from yours. And I wanted to integrate different thoughts and ideas so that at least there's a connection to some sort. So to simply introduce myself, my name is Nolitha Tiba. I'm, as mentioned, a relationship manager with the Philanthropy Center with FNB. Philanthropy Center is relatively new. We're funded in 2017, so I've been part of the team since inception. So it's been really great to grow in this space, especially in the corporate space. And as I tell my life story, it's going to be very funny how I even ended up in the corporate space. And it just goes back to the comment that was made that what you study in university doesn't necessarily mean it's going to be the path you take. I think university is such an instrumental space, especially your first year. It's such an instrumental moment to decide where you're going, who you are, and what path you want to take. And it shapes you and it really molds you. And in that self-discovery and self-awareness, you end up going on a completely different path. So as mentioned, I grew up in the diplomatic space. My parents were diplomats. I spent a lot of time in Brazil, 10 years. So a bulk of my youth was in Brazil and then Switzerland as well. But I went to an international school. So this gave me the foundation of very diverse group of people and diverse backgrounds. So it helped prepare me for university essentially. And in there we had, so my school structure was great in the sense that you got to design your own schedule. And you got a guidance counselor that prepared you, I think solid from 10th grade, that walked with you. So I was able to identify what path I wanted to go, what career I wanted to go into, what school I wanted to go to. So from the moment I was 16 years old, I knew I wanted to work for the Department of International Relations and Corporations. I was ready. And my school molded us individually, and it really helped prepare us. Actually, funny enough, Mike Krieger, one of the guys who started Instagram, was in my grade. We were both graduated the same year. So it's been interesting to see how some of my schoolmates have gone on to do these amazing career paths just based on that foundation we got. So by the time I left Brazil, I actually opted to go to an international university in Canada, but I did not speak a word of isiXhosa, embarrassingly so. So I thought, you're going to want to work in an international department, at least familiarize yourself with your country, with your work, with what they do. And I say all of this simply because people think that when you step into universities, when you should know what you want, you need to start early. By the time you're a first year, you should be comfortable about the field you want to go to, or at least have an inkling of the field you want to concentrate in, an idea of the career path you want, because you don't also want to be wandering aimlessly with no direction. So by the time I transitioned into first year, it was, to say cultural shock is an understatement, because you move from this having this sheltered life where it's your family and you're protected and your identity has been molded by these people. And now you're moving into a space where you are now a young adult, you are mature, you're on your own, you understand the goal you're going into. You're here to get a degree. You're not here to waste time. As I mentioned, since I was 16, I knew what I needed to do. I had taken Model United Nations in preparation with this. I'd taken classes that prepared me for what a diplomat needs to be aware of. I had volunteered for certain organizations. Aside from it being a high school requirement, it was also preparation for understanding that I'm going to work with different people. You need to be out there. You need to know that the world is beyond your world. And so you have to approach, not even I think, it's adamant that you approach this world with an open mind. You have to be open-minded. You have to be open-minded in the fields you're going to study, but you have to be open-minded in the people you're engaging with and the career path itself. So the journey wasn't easy, simply because, as many of you know, you've left home, you've left your shelter, you've left your comfort space. You're now on your own. You're now setting your own rules. You're now setting your own mandate on how I should study, what I should study, and you're being responsible for your own future. I think my first year, aside from crying and calling my parents literally every day, because I was in South Africa alone and they were still in Brazil. So it was crying and calling every day, but it was the understanding that I was now responsible for my future. Every decision I took from this moment on would shape me one way or another. The biggest learning I got from a first year was social media, be careful what you put on social media because it's going to come back and bite you. So be responsible from the moment you start, literally from the moment you step in, build your brand into something that's recognizable in the space of where you want to go. So moving forward. So in speaking to the brand, I always say we are a brand. You're a brand. You're representing yourself. From the way you talk, the way you dress, the way you look, the words that come out of your mouth, you're a brand. People associate you with certain things. So I started, as I mentioned, I really prepared for what I was going to study by starting to study some of the courses earlier in high school. I got to design my own schedule. So I was molding it in preparation for first year. And then, as I mentioned, I volunteered, and then I did get accepted to 3 universities based on how much I had invested. So I got accepted to UCT, University of Pretoria, and Wits. I opted for Wits for me personally because it personified the environment I wanted to be in. It was a diverse group of people, a huge diverse group of international students, and then I was able to just kind of climatize into that environment because I had transitioned from an international school and in that sphere into a university. So that aligned greatly with me. So if you are in unis and you're a first year now, my understanding is you've picked this university because it aligns with your journey and your career path. And that's what then spoke to me about Unisa in my honors, was it strongly aligned to my career path, but also the direction I wanted to go into the workspace and be able to balance that work-life lifestyle. Just moving, I'll just mute this, sorry. Then, so in simply speaking, when you're speaking about the career path you want to go into, introducing yourself into the working world, as I mentioned, you have to start shaping yourself now. You have to start conducting yourself now in a way that you will be respected. It's reiterated, and I think young people don't actually understand, acknowledge this, but as I mentioned, what you put out there, what you post on social media, the comments you make and blast everything out there comes back, especially in interviews. I know people here actually who have been turned down from roles because they either said a comment that was either xenophobic, Afrophobic, homophobic, or discriminatory. And those things then come back, and then you now have to live with those consequences. So you are now a student. Conduct yourself as the strong brand you want people to read you as. So for me, the rules I really live by is I try and stay informed on almost every topic. So the idea of surrounding yourself with a strong group of diverse people helps you with this. So if you have, I try and have friends in IT, I've got friends that are surgeons, I've got friends that are doctors, friends that are lawyers, and we all kind of blend our worlds and we discuss everything. We discuss literally everything, so that when you are out in the working world, if a CEO steps up to you or an accountant or a CFO steps up, you're able to engage because at least you've given or equipped yourself with enough knowledge to be well-rounded and well-diverse in what you have. And I think those tools are what you strongly find in your first year. And by the time you get to your second and third year, I don't want to say you're a veteran, but you're a little more mature. So get a group of people that is diverse. Do not limit yourself to friends that are only in your field. Do not limit yourselves to friends that are only in your community. Get people with who come from different cultural backgrounds, traditional backgrounds, religious backgrounds, sexual backgrounds, and geographically as well. Just come from different countries. Learn to, even if you don't learn their languages, but learn to understand their languages, learn their history. Try and learn about the world as much as you possibly can. And these are the connections that you're going to build by having a diverse group of people. And these are also the connections that are going to carry you through your working career. There's this not even a quote, but a saying that says, don't burn bridges. And it's such a strong one. And I think I learned it strongly when I got into the working space. Don't burn bridges even now. The people you make, I guarantee you at some point in your career path, you're going to reach out to 1, 2, 3, or even 5 of them because you need connections. In the working space you're in, you need to be able to call someone and be like, hey, this is what we're working on in the project. We need another perspective to it. What are you guys involved in? How are you guys diversing your space? And those conversations happen easily when you can easily reach out to a friend or a former colleague or a former student and engage in depth with those. You continue to evolve your brand and identity. As I said, I'm still trying to figure out who I am. I was joking with a colleague now saying I'm 3 days into 39, and honestly, I'm still trying to figure out who I am, what my brand is, because it's evolved. From the time you start first year to now, you're constantly evolving. But make sure to stay relevant. Make sure to stay on topics. Make sure to be aware of surroundings and the world you're in, because it's no longer about coming from a little community in the Eastern Cape or Limpopo or wherever. We're now at a global standing. The moment you engage with other people, the moment you engage on social media, you are now at a global platform. And so you need to broaden how you see the world and engage with people as one who's on a global platform. My least favorite word in the English language is the word normal. I don't believe in that word. I don't prescribe to that sentiment or thought. There's no such thing as normal. No one is normal because the idea is even defined by different cultures. And I always say it's probably a random man who was standing on a mountain and it said it's normal to do A, B, and C, and then it just became the norm. There's no such thing. And that's why I live by the quote by Maya Angelou, this: if you're always trying to be normal, you'll never know how amazing you are. Sorry, you can be. And you need to carry that out through your university years. These years are the years you actually get to build your voice, question everything. Question everything, study everything. And then even when you feel you've perfected your field, study other perspectives of it. Study how in Germany, how they would approach it, in Ghana, how they would approach it. And that makes you different. I always like to say to my younger siblings and cousins that when you're applying for a job, there's 10,000 other people out there thinking of applying for a similar job, or 1,000 who make it. And in that 1,000, when they're going through 1,000 CVs, and legit, I say 1,000 because we're actually going through 1,000 CVs for one role. In those 1,000 CVs, what about you stands out? And that's how you need to approach life from this moment. You always have to stand out. So the way you identify, the way you approach your studies, the way you approach life, the way you approach your brand, aim to stand out, but don't aim to stand out in a way where you oppress other people to get to the top. Not in those means, but aim to stand out in a way that screams attention, that screams there's something about you that we want in our company. There's something about you that our brand wants to associate with your brand. And then be humble, obviously. I wanted to say there's this song I listen to. It's called Everybody's Free to Wear Sunscreen. Every time I feel like, okay, I'm a little shaky on my direction or my brand, I turn to this song. It's got a lot of American references, but it's still very relevant. So if you get a chance, please listen to it. And it helps you, I think, lessen the expectations and pressures that society have on you, but rather helps you have direction on who you want to become. It's based on a speech this gentleman gave to a graduating class of 1992, if I'm not mistaken, and it's just bringing them to the awareness. Also, for me, what helped me in first year actually was therapy. I sought out a therapist just to help me balance, because a lot gets thrown at you. There's a lot of expectations, and I needed to balance and stay focused and stay true to myself. So reaching out, just as I mentioned, I spoke to a few people and I reached out, and what they said, the directions they took, and some of them are very aligned to my journey, was that volunteer in everything. So volunteer, but in everything that's aligned to your field. So the greatest skill you can have is if you are going to go, I think, let me use my space. So if you're going to go into the nonprofit space, you're going to go into the nonprofit space, but understand all aspects of the nonprofit space. Don't only like zone in and be in tunnel vision with your own career. Understand how the HR team works, understand how the secretary works, understand how the business works. It makes you firstly a strong asset, an invaluable asset to the business, because you've also well-rounded yourself with a lot of information, but it also makes you easily adaptable to the work environment, but it also makes you easily welcomed to different teams. So if someone's looking for, I don't know, a skill that doesn't exist in the team, but they know you exist in the business, instead of going into externally, they can refer to you because you've diversified your knowledge in this space. So that's what I mean by inform yourself in all aspects of it. Do part-time work now, job shadow, do mentorships. A colleague said, apply for absolutely everything. That's what he did. During his first, second, and third year, he applied for every mentorship, every leadership conference, and he did them both internationally and nationally. Do research in the study of your field. This will help you understand also what other elements of your field they are. So as it was mentioned, if you're going to be an accountant, don't just be one type of accountant. Find out what other areas of their space or space there are, and then zone into those as well. Because at the end of the day, you want to be different. You want your CV to stand out in that 1,000 that are applying. Someone said, not asking the relevant questions and not getting guidance was really what had them taking a 3-year degree to a 6-year degree, which they still didn't complete as well. And that's their greatest regret. They said, if I had had someone guide me and someone speak to me and someone had a reference point to, then I would have at least understood what I needed to do, how I needed to invest my time. And for me, that's what I did. I was really close to lecturers and professors in my space. So I was able to turn to them, speak to them, and get guidance, and also really tighten up on what specific subjects I needed to study, what who I needed to speak to, where I needed to volunteer. So during holidays, I would volunteer in the embassies where my dad worked, or even in the other countries' embassies, to also understand their dynamics and their approaches to things. This is going to be probably the last degree you do as a young adult. So go in there, dive, and make sure that you are different to who you are when you stepped in and when you leave. There's the whole identity element of it. You know your identity now because mostly it's been molded by your community and your support structure. But now you need to create an identity for you that's aligned to your career path. And you're going to discover that, I think, through your studies, the people you engage with. There's certain, because my passion was international relations and politics. I got into university, I realized I'm not a fan of politics. I like international relations. I like the global sphere. I like the global space. So that's what kept me pushed, and that's what kept me moving. Also, the decisions I took, I made sure they were aligned not only to my upbringing, but they were aligned to what I had seen other diplomats conduct themselves at. So for me, from the moment I started, it was always that professional step of how do I ensure I act like them? How do I attain that image, that brand? It's also important to zone out unnecessary noises and concentrate on the voices that validate you. And I think that voice deeply comes within mostly, and be your strongest mentor. And then I think, don't forget who you are at the essence of all of it. Do this for you. I know a lot of us are here from our parents saying you need to get a degree, but get the degree that makes you happy. Link it with your passion. Get the degree that drives you, because at the end of the day, you're the one who's going to be doing this job for the next 20, 40, 50 years, depending on when you want to retire, and you want to be able to be happy doing it. So it's just the regrets people had were really time wasted. I had people who said, look, first year I was overwhelmed. I had this overwhelming amount of independence, and I just went into drugs and alcohol and I wasted it. And now I'm seeing those repercussions later in my 30s. I think the one that resonated strongly with me was someone saying, I focused so much on appeasing everybody else and my parents, and I forgot what I wanted. And now I'm in my late 30s, and I'm having to start over by finding out what my identity is. So strengthen that component right from the beginning. It just lessens regret as well. So people said, knowing what I know now, how do I wish I had addressed and approached my university years leading into my career path? And one I loved was, I wish I had adopted learning ways that weren't limited to the mainstreaming way of learning, but that was suitable for me. Strengthened my CV, strengthened and built my CV. And that's really the volunteering, the attending conferences, the doing it all, job shadowing, all of it. Any spare time you have, dive into it, because you're not going to regret it. By the time you apply for your first job, you've already got all of this experience that probably 80% of the other candidates don't. That makes you an asset. I had a career-focused qualification, obviously cared a lot less about what people thought, selected subjects and decided on my honors and masters that spoke to me. So that's what I did. Since, as I mentioned, it was a passion from the word go. So I've always just done that. And set boundaries for yourself and all your relationships. This is so important. There's going to be moments you're going to have to say no to a lot of things. Don't succumb to peer pressure. And don't think missing out on certain things now is an element of you're missing out on your youth. No, by all means, enjoy your youth, but some things are just delayed gratification. Miss out on some things now so you can enjoy them later, and enjoy them at your own pace and your own environment and your own willingness, and not do them because it's expected or people told you to do so. Importantly, respect everybody. This is so critical when you get into the workspace. There are people who are going to save you from a lot. Respect the secretaries, respect the security guards, respect absolutely everybody. These are people who are going to be so instrumental in just making life easier when you're in the working space. And this starts really from, an early age. But now you should obviously respect the librarians, the security guards. These are people who are going to help you sneak into the library at night when you need access to books. Be approachable. Money isn't everything. You learn this when you realize when you work, there'll never be enough money. So you just need to be content with your work and the money you have. Learn to listen. Success is defined by those you keep close. Learn from your mistakes. You're going to make them, a million of them, and you're going to make the same mistake repeatedly so. But do a lot of introspection and then move on. Do not berate yourself for mistakes you've made. We all make mistakes. We all fall, and you're continuously going to fall, and you're continuously going to be embarrassed. But forgive yourself. This is a hard one, I think, for everybody. Forgive yourself and then move on, and learn to just be accepting of that you're human. We're all human. And then you do it at your own pace. There's absolutely no definition to doing this and getting it right. You're learning as you're going along, and your steps will probably help someone else avoid similar mistakes or not make them as boldly. Someone gave me a great quote that says, keep on dreaming, you'll be courageous, and there is no job or life experience that is the waste of time, because every experience adds to your personal growth. And then this was just so fun for me because it's just a story of life where the heart is saying to the brain, follow me. The brain is saying, let's step back and think about it. And the brain is saying, stop. And the heart is just saying, I can't. And at the same time, the bottom picture is the brain now rescuing the heart from a mistake they made, and then the heart saying, I had to try. And I think that's just us. Sometimes you follow your heart, you make your mistakes, you get hurt, but you tried, and that's the essence of it. So as I mentioned, from 16, I knew I wanted to do international relations and work for DIRCO. I did get accepted to DIRCO twice, actually, but at that moment in time, I had found another career path. I had found other companies I wanted to work for, and I was passionate in that space. Did I regret it? I think at some point I did, thinking, oh my goodness, have I now stalled my career path? Have I now stalled my career growth? Have I now stalled the plans I had? But I think had I not taken the path I've taken now, I wouldn't have led myself here. I wouldn't be in a space that I'm so passionate about. I wouldn't feel so fulfilled. And at some point I will go to Durko. And I think that's the passion about life. You have time. So you have the time to discover yourself, discover your likes, discover your dislikes. And then when you are cemented in yourself, in your brand, and you're rooted in who you are, I think then you can just transition to the next step. And some people literally find it on the first time they try it. For me, it was a different journey. For me, I think my greatest, as much as I regretted not taking Berco straight out of university, the bliss now has been, I felt if I had gone into Durka at that time, I would have had a one-track mind, as in opposed to now, I've gotten to work for an African network. I've worked in the social justice space, which is now a space I'm completely passionate about. I've worked for the Embassy of Japan, which had me working with all of SADC and exposed me to a lot more culture and a lot more work. The Philanthropy team accidentally happened. They literally found me on LinkedIn. So that's what I meant by the brand you create on social media will speak to you and could break or make your career. So they literally found me on social media, I think in January 2017. I looked at it, I ignored it. I came back to them in June saying, hey, you guys sent me a message in January. And they're like, yes, are you still interested? I was on holiday, so I wasn't even paying attention. I got back to them in September. That's how much time I took at it. But because I think it was just the path I was meant to take, it landed me here. So do not be afraid to try things, no matter how scary it may be. Do not be afraid to just jump. Follow your heart sometimes. And I think at the bottom it says, you can always tell your brain, I tried. And at some point, I think that's what I will say when I'm ready to transition to actually following the path I'd been preparing for since 16, is I can tell my heart I tried and I enjoyed it and I exceptionally did well in this space and it molded me. And as I had mentioned, no experience or job is wasted. This has definitely helped shape me to where I need to get to, and picking the right institutions and following the right path and having a really strong support structure from your community, your family, your professors, your guidance counselors. Speak to all of those people. Those are people with experience, and they'll carry you and make your mistakes so that you get to where you need to be, so that you have no regrets. I think for me, the words I live by is that when I am 90 and on my deathbed, I absolutely want to have no regrets. And that's all from me. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you so much, Nolita. We've got 2 questions from students. If you won't mind, if we can just look at those questions.
No problem.
Refilwe, thank you. Refilwe said that you mentioned you did volunteer work. Where did you do this and how did you decide where to volunteer?
So my volunteer work was largely during high school. So I taught English in the favelas, which is townships, I guess, for Portuguese. And then I also, aside from teaching English, I also volunteered in an orphanage. Currently, I also volunteer as a mentor for a girls group here in Alex. So the way I did it was I decided in one of the bullets I had, it said, everything you do, make sure it's aligned to your vision and your career path. So the mentorship element now was, I am very focused around gender empowerment and the empowerment of not only young girls, but also young boys, and the whole idea of building your identity. And that needs to start at a young age. And the ones I did in high school were more aligned of, I knew diplomacy comes with understanding communities, understanding that the need is to try and make the world equal, try and make people equal, and ensure people have access to the best of opportunities. So that's how I picked that. So if you're looking to volunteer, I think firstly it's, what are you passionate about? And is what you're passionate about aligned to your career growth? Because you can't want to say, I want to be an accountant, but then you volunteer at an ice cream shop on the weekends. There's no alignment there. And as much as it is your passion, you are in university now. So what you do needs to be aligned to who you're building as a brand. So that's how I've always approached the spaces and the spaces I volunteer in and the spaces I give my time to, because also volunteer goes beyond just giving of yourself physically. You can give of your time. You can volunteer to give kids classes during the weekends. That's still, again, aligned to your career path. You can volunteer to work for NGOs. A lot of NGOs that I work with need accountants, they need proposal writers, they need secretaries, there's just a wide range of spaces you can, and pockets you can go into that I can guarantee you will find some synergy to your space. So I hope I answered you enough, Refilwe.
Thank you very much. So our next question is from Sam. Do you have tips about networking?
So for me, the greatest tip about networking is, one, start with your peers. If you know there are certain groups, I don't know if they exist, but they used to in my old university days, where if there is a group on like children or learners who are interested in foreign languages, so attend those. It might not necessarily that you're interested in learning Italian, because it's really not aligned to anything you want to do, but it will give you a diverse group of people to introduce yourself to. Go into spaces you're not comfortable in, and engage with those people. You don't need to make a group of friends, but as long as you have a connection with one or two people, attend conferences. I know Unisa gets a lot of offers a lot of platforms where there are different conferences where you can attend. Go to those and introduce yourself to some of your lecturers, and see if your lecturers don't have people who are looking for young people to volunteer, people to job shadow. For example, at First Rand, we have something called First Jobs for people straight out of university, where they can come and come and work here. And you work here for 2 years, but you don't necessarily get assigned to your field. So they'll try. So if you're in marketing, they'll try and put you with the marketing team at F&B, or you could end up working with the marketing team at First Rand or the accounting team at Ashburton. So that diversifies your knowledge and your space. But introduce yourself to people. And I know it's weird. It's a weird dynamic to put yourself out there into a space that's not normally yours, but reach out to people. I always say, if someone comes up to me and introduces themselves, we have an engagement, we talk, I ask about your likes. And if I happen to have a friend or a colleague who is in your space, I always offer, do you mind if I introduce you to my friend or colleague? They're in this space. I think you might engage. And then that way your community grows. So I would say start linking. I mean, there's all of us on this platform. Reach out if any of us are aligned to what you want to study. And from there, you're able to build your community. But the greatest start right now would be the peers you have. Reach out to different faculties. That's a great start as well. Reach out to someone who's completely different from your background and get to know them. I'm not saying you'll be the best of friends, but you'll definitely create a bond that you might end up utilizing when you're in the job market and you need someone from Ethiopia to give you their perspective on how they do certain things. I don't know if they would like me to elaborate or if that was fine.
I think that is very valuable. So what I heard is it's really important to just, I want to call it a risk that you take to just engage with as many people as possible.
Yes.
My thing is always that you never know who you are talking to. And as you said, your principle is that if you're talking to others and you know somebody and they are looking for opportunities, there's also part of networking is also how you help others to connect to other people.
Sure.
So I think, networking shouldn't be seen as kind of like a one-way street, but that it's a give and take. So in order to get value out of networking, you also have to be a valuable kind of connection point in the network.
And you need to go in already knowing yourself as well. So be confident. You're not going to know everything, but know yourself, know your brand. So by the time you're engaging with people, people are like, okay, this is an equal. We can engage. And someone I spoke to said, you are equal to the person next to you. We're all equal. It just depends on your comfort level. So don't doubt yourself. You might not know everything you need to know, but be confident enough to approach people, and people will be drawn to you and then feel comfortable in introducing you to a wider spectrum, because as you've mentioned, you have something to give and they have something to give you in return.
Thank you, Nolita.
Thank you so much.
Tabiso asked a question. I could only imagine that maybe they were intrigued by I think you spoke about, following your passion and doing things, and even your volunteer work, what you feel passionate about. So
Yes.
the question is, what happens if a career or a career path that you are interested in or want to take is not in demand?
So that's a very interesting one. And I think the limitation about that kind of statement is we're usually saying it's not in demand here. It's not in demand in South Africa. It doesn't mean it's not in demand internationally. So the strongest advice I think I would give you is start looking beyond South Africa. Stop looking beyond this community. There are so many countries, developed nations even, that are being drained from their own human resource. You would be amazed at, for example, I think Canada and the UK, the way they need immigrants to come into the country because they've got a brain drain. So I think it's at this point, it's time to start dreaming bigger. Do your research. So if it's not in demand in SA, start finding out where it's in demand. Start finding out what skills you need to make sure you're in demand in that country. There are a lot of online courses you can take. Google offers them for free. There is UCT, Stellenbosch, Yale, Cambridge. They all offer these courses that you can go online. And I mean, you can partner them up. And some of them are very short, like there's 6-week courses, 6-month courses. And while you're doing your first year, you're doing your university years, and you're able to balance, really, a key word is balance, taking those, then equip yourself with those additional qualifications. It's not going to be easy, not by any stretch of the imagination, trying to get a job abroad. But I would not say to someone, if you're passionate about a course and it's not in demand in SA, drop it and find something that's in demand. My issue with that is if you drop something and you find something that's in demand in the South African context, you're now competing with 10,000 other people who have safely moved to that comfort space. It's just time to dream bigger and start thinking about what your life looks like beyond South Africa.
Thank you, Nolita. I guess what I was thinking about when you were talking is also this concept of the hidden job market. So often, there are fields or specific areas or organizations, because we are not able to tap into what is called the hidden job market, our perceptions could also be skewed in terms of what is in demand or not in demand. Yeah.
Sure.
Okay, thank you very much.
And I just wanted to add, just on that. So for example, I studied international relations and politics. Working at FNB for a philanthropy center was not even in my vision board. It is so far left from what I wanted to study. And I think it's incorporating all your learnings as you go through university that helps shape you into diversifying your field. So as you're saying, it might not be in demand in the traditional sense, but you could help shape it into what you want it to be in a completely different scope. And traditionally, how we're looking at things is changing. For example, FNB's CEO was an engineer. He wasn't even in finance. So what you study, you could help shape it into what you need for your career path. The world is looking at the work structure very differently, and they're looking at traditional degrees very differently. So don't be limited on the job title itself and think just because I'm an engineer, I should do engineering. No, if anything, a lot of the banks are looking to hire a lot of engineers. I have people who are moving from being mining engineers coming into the financial space. So just always keep an open mind about how you approach the job market and what it can be for you. You can always structure things to suit your brand and your liking and your passion.
Nolita, thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
Okay, Mandu, if you could please introduce our next speaker to us.
Good afternoon or good morning once again, ladies and gentlemen. I would like to introduce our next speaker. He works for the Office of the Vice Principal Teaching and Learning, Community Engagement and Student Support at Unisa, where he supports students. He was born in Limpopo's Mopani district. Stanley is a dedicated and committed individual who has achieved a Bachelor's of Social Work with a cum laude, that is a distinction, and an honors degree in social behavior. He is currently studying for his Master's of Arts in Social Behavior Studies. Stanley is passionate about community service and has held positions such as Unisa SRC Tshwane Regional Sports Office as a sports officer from 2014 to 2016, Communications Office of Tshwane Regional Committee of SASCO in 2015. And he also was a secretary of GLOUSA, which is GLOUSA, a student organization that advocates for LGBTQIQ+ students. He is also a mentor, an assessor, and a moderator, and a high supporter and mentor of our own students. Ladies and gentlemen, our alumni, Stanley Namakota. Thank you, Lisa.
Thank you so much, Mama Kanya, Lisa, and I appreciate this wonderful introduction that you have given me this morning, and I'm very excited to be part of this wonderful conversations. Thanks, Miss Makanya, as well as Miss Lisa, for this opportunity, and I appreciate. And greetings, everyone, and thank you for having me. Yeah, sure. It's quite very interesting to listen to wonderful stories just shared by the previous speaker. It was very, very wonderful. I will share as well my experiences as a former student and current student. I'm an alumni as well as a current student of the University of South Africa. And I'm also a staff in the Office of the Vice Principal, Teaching and Learning, Student Support and Community Engagement, as they've indicated. Yeah, this is my story. All right. I think, I'm from a background of leadership. So, for me, it's important to greet all of students and also appreciate, the people behind this. And as a person who's within a diverse space, and also appreciate our marginalized community, the LGBTI in this. And thank you very much for affording me this opportunity to speak to you all about things that are very critical to the academic journey of the first year student at Unisa. So before I can start, I want you all to know that every individual has a potential, no matter what you're facing. The potential takes self-actualization and realization of one's potential, and we eventually answer the question, why am I here? Why am I here is a very important concept for me, because it literally put down or set the record straight of your intention in life as a person. And why am I here? It doesn't start eventually when you get that admission at the university. It starts from a thought before you can even decide which direction to look at. Because it is multifaceted activities that happens in your mind as a person, as an individual. You know, when you grow up in high schools, we're taught that you know, you have to dream, you have to have goals, you have to know what is that you want to achieve. Those things play out the moment you start realizing that this is the direction I want to take as a person. So it's important, you know, to have that done. So the beginning of it all, for me, what is important was, you know, in my journey, I had to make a personal decision to want to study. You know, I looked at what motivates me, what propels me, and what pushes me to do so. Most of the time, we focus on the past. You know, we focus on experiences that we had in the past that shape us where we want to go in the future. But for me, I feel like in my journey, it was important for me to focus on what I can do in the future, what I can actually perceive the future to be like. Because for me to be able to perceive the future to be like, I need to understand my situation. I need to understand my position, and I need to understand my identity as a person. I need to understand what is it that I want to see happening in the future. You know, what kind of picture I want to see in the future that is unknown. So that's why I always love, and I tell most of my people that please, let's learn to embrace uncertainty. Because it is through embracing uncertainty that we can then realize the situation of today that will eventually give us a way into addressing tomorrow. Now, the career choice or qualification program to study is very important because, you know, able to understand the kind of identity you have in life. It's for you to determine and shape your perception as a person. So I look down myself in my experience to say, what is it that is so important to me? What kind of a person I am? What is it that is aligned with my values? What is it that is aligned with my principles? What is it that is aligned with my reality, way of being? You know, my attitude as a person, behavior, and my upbringing. And I noticed that, you know, as a person, I have to develop myself into the level of social science, you know, and the helping profession. You know, that's why I eventually realized that the only thing that will assist me to be able to find myself and be able to be happy in what I'm doing in the future as I prepare my future is to facilitate a process of exploration within the social science space. And then I remember I came to the university, I think it was in 2008, and then I went straight to student advisors and I asked them to say, a person who has got a good heart, what is it that they can study? So at that time, I was still exploring myself to understand what does this identity that I have means to me? And what is it that I can do that is aligned to that? And they showed me a lot of programs that I can do. They showed me psychology, they showed me communication, sociology, social work, spirituality, and all that. And then I opted to study social work. And the reason why I had to do so was because I realized that you know, there are certain principles within social work that align to who I am. And it will be easier for me to explore and flourish within that particular qualification, because by virtue of the fact that I've already have a set of principles and values that align to the profession, therefore it means I can then eventually be able to explore and then maneuver my way into the qualification. So, and then I had to make sure that such program is well within, you know, my relationship with oneself, my identity as a person, because that for me, it was very important. Because for me to be able to actually do better in this space, I needed to ensure that I understand myself, first of all. And secondly, I understand my capabilities as a person. And I understand my fears, my weak point, my strength as well. So that I can then be able to say, once I start in this journey, then I'm able to flourish. And then I look at time frame, because it's important, and you must look at where you're coming from. I mean, you can't go back to a drawing board and think about a program, but not think about the time frame in which you need to achieve what you have set yourself for. It is because it motivates me to realize that we are coming from different backgrounds as individuals. And sometimes you may find that you get one chance, one opportunity for you to make a difference in your life. And you need to clearly set a very achievable time frame that once you start this, you're going to finish within this. And that on itself is going to give you an idea of how to actually maneuver the space and ensure that whatever that you do is aligned to the goal that we've set for yourself. So that is my personal story that I had to endure as a Unisa student. Now, my first year at Unisa, that's where my goal has been materializing, because everybody has got a story of their first year. I looked at, this is a distance learning, and it's very challenging. I mean, I'm from an environment where I'm used to instructional learning, where a teacher will stand in front and facilitate process of learning and everything. Now, all of a sudden, I found myself in an open distance learning environment, where it's me and my studies and interaction with the lecturer at a particular space that I may not literally see or know or hear about. Now, what do I do? So it demands a set of attitude, values, and principles, different set of them, and behaviors. Therefore, it means I need to interact with myself and visit myself back again to say, how am I going to maneuver the space in this situation? Because I'm looking at this career path, but at the same time, it's like I'm somewhere, in a rural and remote area where I'm alone, and then the university is giving me all these resources to say, please go and do 1, 2, 3, and then come let test you. So I had to step up. I had to visit myself. I had to look at a variety of things. And then I then said, okay, I think the best option for me will be find an immediate resource that will then be able to assist me to deal with these issues. So, and then I looked at and I realized, okay, because this program that I have now in hand, I'm not funding for it. I've got a bursary that is funding for this program. Now, and then if I, by any chance, I fail, then it's a problem for me. Therefore, what do I need to do in order for me to do well? Therefore, it means I need to find a way in which I can cope with all my studies, but at the same time, be closer to what my goal is actually desired to achieve. Be closer to my program, be closer to my career path, be closer to people who are involved within the social work environment. Get to understand what are the difficulties that they've actually experienced. Do some background check, go to organization, check what are the things that they find it very interesting in the environment, especially coming from university side. And then that's when I realized it is important for me to create a group discussion. This is for me was very crucial because I'm working, my career path is a practical kind of an environment. And for me to be able to flourish in this, I need to, define or create an identity of a practical environment whereby I can then be able to relive the experiences of what I'm learning within the institution. And then I always say to people, most of the time, whatever that we do, it cannot end only within the books as well as in the university corridors. We have to relive the experiences of what we learn, because we don't learn to only acquire knowledge, but we learn also to be able to impart this knowledge and make a difference in the work environment. And the workplace environment is completely different from what we have in the academic environment, because the workplace environment is a multifaceted challenges, variety of issues that you come across, and your role as a person who is a graduate is to make sure that to provide solution to those kind of challenges at a practical level. So that's why for me it was very important to visit organizations, just to get to understand that as I'm busy studying within the university, exploring this career path, what are the things that are very important for me to be able to do as I'm growing in this program, and then so that I can then be able to be relevant tomorrow in the workplace. And then I established a contact with regional offices. I know the university is offering variety of regional support in regional offices, and that's where I took advantage of that. And I remember my time when I started at Unisa, and then I heard there was a dialogue on sexual diversity. That was my first dialogue that I attended, and I attended dialogue that day, because I know I'm doing social work and there's something that is happening in the university, and then they are hosting a dialogue on social diversity, and I don't know what is that. Then I attended that dialogue, and upon my attending of that dialogue, I met a number of people there, you know, from different universities, some international, you know, and from a variety of companies and organizations within the university. And then I participated, and then I learned. And then after my participation in that space, I created a lot of network there, because I was asking a lot of questions, because I wanted to understand, you know, I wanted to get more knowledge about this, you know, because when I look at this, I see it aligns with my profession, and I see it will assist me going forward to understand how to deal with diversity in the workplace, but most importantly, how to also address these issues as I'm busy starting my program. That's where I developed much interest in the space, because yeah, I immediately then attracted interest from variety of people within the university, but not only within the university, but from also those stakeholders that were there. And then they looked at me as a very valuable resource, because I was there open-minded and willing to learn. So that's you know, what I did. And then what I found exciting as an Unisa student, which was a positive reinforcement for me, you know, it's variety of opportunities that are presented with as a student at the university. And I remember as they said in the introduction, that I'm a mentor of students. I remember last year I graduated, I think 15 students from the university through my spare time of mentoring them, for just to give them an idea of what need to happen within the space. And the variety of the students that were involved in my space was you know, to get more exposure to different level of networks that I had myself, because I believe that imparting knowledge that we have gained is very much important to assist those who are coming. And my specific focus was on a female student, because I realized in my profession that I was taught the disadvantages that females were actually exposed to. And then I realized that I want to create a powerful and strong and capable female student who will then be able to stand up and run a particular strong system, because I also got the very same support programs within the space. And then that's when I create you know, interactive learning engagement with people around, just to develop what kind of assistance that one can get in order for them to develop themselves. And then I was able to get support outside. I was able to get support from different organizations. I was able to get support within the university, in the regions, as well as in the department level, as well as in the college. So, and then I realized I have to take advantage of connecting and networking. because the university hosts a variety of programs here at the campus. Some are conferences, some are seminars, summits, workshops, and I had to take advantage of that. Why did I do that? It's because those kind of summits, that's where a lot of responsible people are converging. A lot of people, different ideas are converging. A lot of people, different career paths are converging. And then that's when I realized that if I get to that space, then I can be able to actually develop myself and empower myself to a particular level. Then I can be relevant in my workspace. And then I develop a particular career path. And then I developed concrete growth in that space, because I realized that I cannot work alone. I need to work with a group of people. Therefore, I learned an ability to be able to provide leadership in different spaces. And then that's when I joined into leadership and empowerment programs. I took advantage of the space around the SRC, because I then participated in programs. I was a person who's always available in mass meetings. I was a person who's always available in meetings that are called by the universities, because I wanted to learn and understand how best can I harness my development as a person and as an individual. And then that's when I joined the SRC from the student development. And there I became a sports and recreation office of the university. But now that program assisted me, because I remember that then Dean of Student, who's the current Vice Chancellor, Professor Lenka Bula, who then said to me, because I've turned and transformed this role of sports and recreation office into one of the best within the university in the history of the SRC. And then she came to me and she said that, I took something from ashes and then I made it an ivory, because of the kind of exposure and knowledge I've had. And then I was involved in an environment where I have to have multiple network and collaboration with different stakeholders. I remember I had collaboration with the Office of the Minister of Sports and Recreation. I had collaboration with the Office of the Social Development in the National Office. I had collaboration with the Office of the Tshwane Mayor, and all variety of different institutions, because of the little work that I was doing and the exposure and the work that I was doing. And I created a lot of collaboration within the university. And that's when I learned about leadership. That's when I learned about empowerment. That's when I learned about development. And then I said, in my role, then this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to create a level of development or pathway development of people to be able to flourish in their career. And then I looked at a group of students to say, okay, what are you doing in your studies? What do you think you can do differently? What do you think are innovation cues that you can be able to share with the world so that you can then be able to flourish? I remember there was a lady that and then we empowered her to be able to do the best thing within the media industry. And then she attracted a lot of other media houses. I'm talking about your Power FM, I'm talking about your TUT radio FMs and everything. And then they started contacting her for come and host events and other things, because then she was studying communication programs within the university. And that's when I realized that this, for me, it is very important, and I had to continue doing that. Now, economic opportunities come by, and then because I developed myself into a particular direction, and then I was doing well in my studies, because in spite of the fact that I was an SRC, and we know that an SRC person is always a very busy person, and then, but what surprised many students and many of academics was that this person and university staff, this person is always busy. When we say this event this side is there, when you say there is a program this side is there, when you say the challenge of student is there in the forefront to assist the student. But at the end of the day, he's doing well in his studies, because after every results that comes at the end of a semester, I'm there in the finish line with everybody. There I am with distinctions. And then that's when I started developing much interest, because I developed myself into this powerful brand that I would want to, inspire everywhere I go. And then everything that I did, because I prepared myself enough on time, and I developed a lot of network and interaction. And everything that I had to do at that time was to ensure that, I become this powerful brand. And as a result, then I end up in myself a post at the university as a project assistant in the sociology department at the research center. And that on itself, it assisted me to grow my network, because that's when I used to interact with variety of stakeholders, and then because I also managing stakeholder relations there, communicate with different levels of stakeholders. And everywhere we go, they'll be excited that there's somebody who's coming. The Stanley was coming, things are happening. And then I started becoming the lead contact within our directorate, because of the kind of knowledge and experience I brought into the field. And then I enriched myself, with programs such academic lecturers and seminars and dialogues and conferences. And then I attracted, of course, yes, my current manager, who is the vice principal. Of all these things that I've done, I've actually, been headhunted, and because of the capabilities and competencies that I was able to actually share. And then that's the current space that I went on. And I continued doing my work. I continued doing my development. I continued attending different levels of training, different levels of workshop, seminars, conferences. I remember, I co-hosted the E8 or Higher Education AIDS conference in Durban, and then I was also a reviewer of conference proposals there for papers and presentations, as well as workshop posters. So that's what I actually did. Now, but this journey that we walk and travel, it has got multiple hurdles, and I normally talk about them as distractors, because I think the best thing that you can do as an individual is to be in charge and in control of what actually distracts you and doesn't distract you. What actually becomes a challenge and that doesn't become a challenge, or actually can be a solution towards your challenges that we're having. And then I've noticed that, friends, at some point, can be very problematic, and they can derail you from your career. I remember when we were having a conversation with, I've got a group of employees from different organizations that we do come together. And I think one of them is the principal of a school, because we created a group whereby we discuss, things related to work things, so that we can then be able to assist and empower each other. If there is a learning program somewhere that we think it's very relevant for leadership, then we assist each other, and all of us we attend, because you don't stop developing yourself as a person. You don't stop empowering yourself as a person, because you're living in the continuously changing world of experiences. And at that point, you need to develop yourself to a particular level. There are new challenges, like now you've got 4IR, then you have to keep on developing yourself. And then at the same time, within the organization, you are bringing new innovative ideas. And then it makes your work to become more easier, but at the same time, it makes your contribution in the organization very much felt. And then I realized that there are also family issues, which is a problem, especially when you are developing yourself, more especially as a first-year student, for instance. You might have a particular, career path in this way, but find that there's also challenges back down in the families. You have to face those kind of challenges and try to deal with them, so that they don't derail or distract you from, focusing on your career path, because you would have done a lot of work researching much about this career, checking whether you are the person who can then be able to live with this kind of career in a very long run. Can it develop you to be a powerful thing tomorrow in this kind of career path? And then I realized that one of the things as, we have got a challenge of procrastination as people, because even though you are positioning yourself in the right direction, but at the end of the day, you still find yourself very reluctant, to do things. If you have to complete certain project, you complain. If there's a lot of workload, you complain. And these things, we learn them when we are still at school. And I remember I used to tell most of students that, look, it's very worrying that you will complain with the workload that you get in the university. Wait up until you get to the work environment. That's when you will realize that it's no longer about how far you can go. It's about the contribution and the value you bring to the company. That's when you realize that the issue of workload doesn't matter. What matters is, can we be able to deliver the best possible product to the organization that you have been involved. And one of the challenges has been to be overly committed with a lot of things. Sometimes you need to specify, you need to understand that in my journey, this is what I need to do, and this is my focus. You cannot do everything all by yourself. You need to understand that you need to be strong in a particular area. I remember there was this other guy who gave a good example, who's working in the carpentry, and I asked him one day to say, if you are doing this carpentry and everything, can you do electrician? And then he said to me that, no, I can't. Not that I cannot be able to do it, but I don't want to do it. And I asked him why. He said to me, I need to be perfect in what I'm doing. Therefore, it means I need to invest a lot of energy in what I chose to do. Therefore, if I'm coming to do carpentry for you, therefore, when I'm done, I'm going to call an electrician to come and do electrician for you. But for me, this is my specific area of focus. Therefore, it means this is very important for me to do. So that's why I'm focusing specifically on what I've actually developed and created myself to do as a person. But now, what I did to address these challenges, and I realized that it's important to identify, yourself as a student, to find your identity. Who are you as a person? Are you a person who like going out? A person who like focusing on work? Are you a person who like thinking about the next solution at work? A person who like solving challenges at workplace? You need to find that strength, because once you find that strength, you become innovative. And then you start developing yourself, and then you grow in that space. And then you focus on your goal. If your goal is to say, I'm not only at the work environment because I want to earn a salary, but I want to develop myself to a particular level. Maybe if I'm in the university space, I want to see myself as a dean. Maybe if I'm in the corporate world, I want to see myself as a director or a CEO. But what do you do from that? Therefore, it's what you have to do. And I think also getting role models is quite very important, because you look at what other people have done and who are doing this. I remember the former vice chancellor of the university once said to me, you have got a great career ahead of you. What you need to do is just to put more effort into your career. Therefore, it means it's not only about you who sees this ivory that is ahead of you. Also, those people whom you associate with, when you do things, they notice your work. And then they encourage you to say, look, don't disappoint us. They may not literally tell you that don't disappoint us, but in their literal meaning is, we are looking at you and we have got confidence in what you can achieve. You can do more if you focus a lot more on your career. And then if there's any help you need to look for help everywhere. There's a lot of help that you can get. We develop ourselves in many ways. I remember I used to say to people, look at different spaces in different organizations. Go and consult in those spaces and ask them, what is it that they would need for you to do if you were to work in their space? Ask a person who is a manager to say, what kind of management style would you want to have? What kind of colleague or employee would you have to manage as a person? And then attend mentoring programs, because mentoring programs are very important. They assist you to align your career. They assist you to align your objective within a particular career path. And then always work hard and work smart, because we need to work hard in order for us to achieve. I remember there was a colleague of mine who left. And then when we were in the meeting, While we are busy in the meeting, we are busy in the meeting. When we are done with the meeting, she's already done with the minutes. You know, and then I'm myself, okay, this is some of the strength that I look at to myself. To say, look, I think I can also learn from her, you know, as a person, because once I'm done with what I'm doing, at least it would have empowered me. And then manage your time effectively and know that once it's gone, it's gone. It's important to manage your time. You know, we need to use our time effectively as people if we want to develop in our life. And then make sure that your actions speak into you know, what actually you are desired to be tomorrow, because it is your action will determine where you will be tomorrow. Because how you then develop yourself and structure yourself to a particular level depend on what you do today. Your behavior and attitude must resonate with who you are, the kind of an identity that you have developed for yourself, you know, the kind of career path you have lived. And I always say to people, I mean, you can't be a social worker and fail to understand the situation when you live in the street. You need to be able to relive that experience, because that's the kind of identity you have created. It's a career path that you have taken, and then it defines who you are. You know, it goes with you. You know, and then that's when I realized that helping profession has always been on my side. And then I found myself in the space where I'm able to assist and help and provide support to our students within the university. And I'm doing it diligently, and I'm developing myself to that level. Again, keep on learning. Look at different spaces, different programs, different short courses in different universities, both nationally and internationally. Developing myself, looking at what is in the market. What is it that is happening? How best can we assist our students? That's the kind of story that I've actually shared. And I think all of us, we need to research, we need to study, we need to read more. I remember I was told that the last time, if you said you haven't read books, you must have read 60 books in a year. And those 60 books doesn't relate only to your studies, but just generally 60 books, so that you can actually improve your knowledge base as a student. And for that, I say thank you.
Stanley, thank you very much. I think Kumbotso took the words out of my mouth because she mentioned, thank you for sharing your story and how you took specific steps to make your studies alive and find out more about your profession while you were studying. So she really appreciated, just as I do, the story and the personal approach that you took. There are two questions. We've got I would say 2 minutes left, so I'm just going to ask you to share with us your thoughts on these questions. Kiriboni was saying that she likes the idea of you talking about embracing uncertainty. Do you have any tips for me on how to do that?
Okay, thank you so much, Kiriboni. You know, embracing uncertainty is very important for me. It was very important for me. And what I can advise is that, you know, you need to live in the here and the now, you know, because the moment, if you persistently think about what the future will bring, I think, you know, you're developing a demon of doom for yourself. You know, because I've for myself, I felt like it's important for me to say, okay, let me embrace this uncertainty that I don't know. Let me embrace this future I don't know. Let me not imagine, you know, how it will look like. Let me work towards it. Let me make it a reality. Let me realize that. Let me make it a possibility. You know, let me work towards that. You know, let me remove all these issues that I cannot control. Let me remove all these other things that I cannot manage in my life. Let me get them away and just think about this goal that I have now. Just think about this career now. Let me not think about the fact that I'm doing social work. There are a lot of social work learners that are not employed. Let me not think about the fact that I'm doing this program and then at the end of the day, you know, I don't have support structure that I on the other side. Let me not think about that. Let me just think about what I hear and then embrace that uncertainty environment that I don't know, because I'm actually shaping myself towards that. And I'm going to realize that once I get to that space. That's what I actually did. That's how I actually told myself that, look, I'm not going to look at what the future looked like, the disadvantage of it. I'm just going to live with the hope that, everything that happens for a reason, and I'm going to embrace it because I don't know what's up for me there. But one thing that I'm in control of is the experiences that I'm having now. Now I have to study, now I have to develop myself, now I have to get network, now I have to come to school, I have to do my things, I have to go to it. That's what is important for me at this moment. And then the uncertainty, the unknown is something that I actually embrace because I will wonder how it will look like when I get there.
Thank you, Stanley. Thabisa was saying that you mentioned something about family issues as distractors. What are those, and how do you or did you exactly deal with these issues?
Sure. That for me was very personal, but I know, at some point when I'm talking about family issues as distractors, I'm looking at a situation. For instance, you're transitioning from high school to varsity environment, and then you've got those challenges in the family. Some of them might be, maybe, for instance, you're from a family where, parents are divorcing. Those are very challenging times. Maybe you've got issues where you lost a loved one in the family, and then you've got maybe look at family backgrounds, in terms of resources, and then you are very low in terms of resources, and then at the same time, there are challenges within the families that might distract you from pursuing your career. Certain beliefs in the family, like for instance, where I come from, when I started my studies, I remember my brother told me that, you can't just go to school for 40 years, therefore you are just wasting your time. If you're a person, you're just supposed to, look for a job quickly, you must look at your background, and then, you're going to waste too much time, nobody's going to support you, and those kind of things. And for me, it's quite a very serious, a challenge, for a student to go through those kind of experiences. That's why I'm saying that those are some of the distractors that you might get in the family. But luckily, I was able to have a very strong mother who said to me that in spite of everything that is happening, just keep your head high, because you are going to make it. Don't worry about who says what, when, and how. And then just focus on your career, just focus on your dream. Whatever little support that we're going to have from us, then we're going to be able to give you. And then that's when I learned that there are certain things you cannot control in life. But what you can control, you can control your destiny. You can control how you then prepare yourself for your journey. Whatever hurdles that you come across with and how you address them, that is very important for you. And then you keep your focus on your goal, because at the end of the day, you are the one who's experiencing such, and you are the one who's going to develop yourself to that level. So challenges are there, and ours to ensure that we actually overcome them. But you can't do that alone, because you also need support structures. Like I said, you also need to get some people outside, some role models. And how did you do it? I'm experiencing this kind of issues. How did you deal with it? I'm experiencing this kind of challenge. How do you then resolve it? What kind of tools did you use? What kind of strength did you develop in order to avoid this kind of situation, so that you actually focus on your things? And that's what I did for me, and it worked very well, because I actually put my mind straight and said, look, I'm not going to look sideways. I'm not going to look sideways. I've got no control of that. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to focus on my career. I'm going to focus on my development. And that's what I did. And that's what got me where I am. I even forgot that I had even challenges before, because of the kind of harmony that I enjoyed with knowing where I am going and focusing on my dream and my goal. That was very important for me. Thanks.
Yes, Stanley. And then the last question is, I have a public management degree, seems like it's not in demand. How does one look in the market for what is needed? So do you have any ideas of how you can do that kind of research to look for jobs that are in demand. I know that Nolita spoke earlier about her views on, also expanding your thinking about how you could apply your degree in the workplace, but are there also other ways that we can do research about the different jobs or the opportunities available to us?
Yeah, thank you for that question. And I think it also stems from yourself as a person. How do you develop yourself in that space? If you find or you happen to find your degree that you have studied that is actually not in demand in the work environment, there is a particular direction that you can develop yourself towards. I remember the last engagement I had about career work with some of my colleagues was that most of the people who are working in their respective spaces, they are not actually working using their own current qualification. What they do is they look at a particular aspect that's related to their qualification and develop themselves towards that direction. And then with their qualification become a complement. And then you are able to complement your qualification with what actually you are working for or you are working on. But now, getting to be attractive in the market, I think it's a question of multiple networking, if I can put it that way, and then developing yourself, and positioning yourself well in the space where there are a lot of these activities. Like I said, when I mentioned to say there are a lot of programs that are available within the universities that you might actually be surprised that you thought your qualification might not actually be attractive in the market, but only to find that there are a lot of people who can assist you in variety of ways for you to be able to develop yourself in that space. I remember there is, I think, is it economics and management sciences? I think they do have those programs where they also bring variety of different, organizations where they can actually empower you how to position yourself. Also assist how to do CVs and all those kind of things for you to find yourself in the space where you can be attractive in the market. But I think the best option here to do is to ensure that you search relevant, work search engines related, for instance, that deals with exactly what you are working on or something that's related to what you're working on. And then you develop yourself from that level. Thanks.
Thank you, Stanley. I'm just going to make a few announcements and then I will ask my colleague, Mr. Bekim Zorbe, just to end off the session for us. So just a reminder to those who are here, we've got 2 more of these career events scheduled for March. On the 28th, maximizing opportunities with your online profile. And then on the 30th, we are talking about job searching in a changing world of work. So please visit the My Unisa events calendar to learn more about what these events are about, as well as the links to join us. Then we would also just want to share with you this publication. It's called Grad Next, and there is a link to download. You will see that it's focused on helping final year students make the transition from student life to the working world. So also some articles about networking, personal branding, excuse me, preparing for interviews, looking for jobs, starting your own business. So this is also a very valuable free publication that you can download that could help you in learning more about how you could position yourself to be ready for future opportunities. And then we would also love to hear from you. So if you've got any feedback or suggestions to us, you are welcome to send an email to Mrs. Mandu Makanya. So her email address is on the screen right now. If you have any further questions about the topics that we are talking about, we've got our email address, counselling@unisa.ac.za. So please drop an email to let us know what you would want to discuss. You are also welcome to schedule an online appointment with one of our counsellors on Microsoft Teams. We also have counsellors available at the different Unisa regional offices, so please make an appointment if you would rather want to speak to a counsellor in person. our website at www.unisa.ac.za/counselling also contains a lot of resources that you can use to help you manage your career more effectively. And then finally, our YouTube channel at youtube.com/Unisa Careers, where we publish all of the recordings of these sessions so that you can go and look at them again. Or if you perhaps miss a session, where you could go and watch the recording of such.
Because of time, I'll go straight to say thank you to our guest speakers, Nolita and Stanley, for sharing your stories and experiences with our students. Listening to your stories, it's really enlightening and empowering. I've no doubt that our students gain a lot of information from your stories. As a Directorate of Counseling and Career Development, I'd like to say thank you so much for your contribution in empowering our students. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Becky, and thank you, colleagues, for joining us and those who took the time to attend this session. As I mentioned, please feel free to go to our YouTube channel to go and watch a recording of the session and also look at past topics that we've talked about. Thank you.